Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me today for our teaching and learning webinar. So today we'll be having a look at how Ayoa can be utilised by teachers and students. We'll be exploring how mind maps can be used to design lesson plans for revision, the different templates we have available that will assist you with that. And we'll also be looking at how task boards can be used to organise lessons. So in case you're not aware, we do offer a 35% discount for anyone who is a student or works in education. So if you're a lecturer or you might have just started university, you'll be able to claim that 35% discount. So if you're having any difficulties redeeming that, just pop us over an email and we'd be delighted to help you. So the first thing I'll be making a start with will be the mind maps, and I'll be showing you a few different templates that we have. So what I'll be using the mind maps for first is creating a lesson plan. And to get started, I'm going to go over to this side here, so mind maps, and I'm going to click on speed maps. Now, if you have Ayoa Pro or Ayoa Ultimate, you'll be able to access this option called Choose a Template. And I'm just going to give this a title, so October the 1st, lesson plan. I can invite people to this lesson plan, and now I'm going to click on Choose a Template. So here I have a huge amount of different templates to choose from, which would be really helpful if perhaps you're not used to mind mapping or if you're very new to it. So I'm just going to scroll along. And find the one I'm looking for. So you can see lesson planner. I'm just going to click on that. And what that's going to do is create a brand new mind map with a central idea and some branches already populated. So you can see here that I already have prompts for how I could organize this lesson. For example, I've got info, objectives, activities, and resources. So it just kickstarts the whole process and also means that I will be able to easily replicate this for multiple lessons. So the great thing about mind mapping in Ayoa is that you have far more functionality than if you're just using a pen and paper. So I can add attachments. I can make this more interesting by adding images. So for example, I'm just going to click on this branch. And I'm just going to make this a little bit more interesting by opening the formatting tool. And here I can either upload an image, search for an image, or add an emoji. So I've just got like an image there. So here, if I click on this particular branch, I could add attachments. So if you're using Dropbox or Google Drive for your materials, you can add a link to those right here. So for example, here we've got a branch called worksheets, and that's another great place where you can add multiple attachments, and you could even add branches for different worksheets. So the lesson planner is encouraging to look at, different aspects of every lessons, such as objectives, resources, activities, and this is really going to set us on the right track for beginning our lesson planning. If I want to highlight, different connected branches, I can use that by bringing up the multi-select tool. I can do that by holding Control and selecting these. So, for example, if I wanted to show these were connected, I can click here on Create Category, name it. So this could be Morning, Part 1. I've highlighted different things that I want to focus on in the morning. So we've got other templates as well that you may find useful. So if I go back to the home page, click on Speed Map and choose Template again. We've also got a template called Revision Timetable, which would be really useful for sharing with your students. So if you're working with a smaller group of students who really struggle to manage their own time, then helping them create a timetable and sharing that with them will really help them. So you can see this has already been set out. So we've got the different weeks broken into different days. And you can help your students by asking them to focus on particular things each day. So let's say history, tutors on that day. Tuesday might be maths. Division, and so on. And you could keep suggesting, different things for them to focus on. You could even break it up further, morning, afternoon, and suggest, how they might break up their day. Once you've set out a revision timetable that you think is going to be really useful for your students, you can actually share this template with them. So to create a template out of a mind map you've already made, click up here and you'll see that in your settings, you've got an option called Create Template from Mind Map. So once you've created that template, you can then share it with other people. So I'll just show you how to do that. And you can share the same template with multiple students. So you could create a generic one, which will help a whole range of students, and then they can then customize it themselves. So to do that, go down to templates. So that's on your home page. You can see we've got our template right here. So on the side, click on this grey cog and click Share Template. As you can see, I can share this with multiple people. I just click Share My Map Template with 2 people. So they won't be able to edit the original template that you've made, but it will allow them to copy it to their own template so that they can customize it and use it in a way that helps them without altering that original template, so you can continue sharing that with as many people as you need to. Ayoa is also a collaborative tool. So what you can do perhaps with your older students is get them to contribute to mind maps in an interactive session. And I'll give you an example of how you might do that. So for example, we create an organic mind map, call this debate. We can add multiple people. We're going to create, on this occasion, we're going to create a blank mind map from scratch. So anyone who is added to this mind map can contribute and can collaborate. So you might want people to be added, multiple people to be added to this mind map, whether that's teachers where you want to discuss different points, what you're going to work on, or, open the floor up to your students to contribute in their own way. And you can do this as well. So you can make this mind map really interesting by adding images, which will help just stimulate, ideas for your students. We can make this image a bit bigger. So on one side, we could have for, and on the other, we can have against. We can have one, 2, rebuttal, closing statement. You can start, just helping to guide, how we might organize this debate. So, if you're working with students who maybe you're having to teach them remotely at the moment, and maybe you've got shyer students amongst that group, this mind map allows them to speak up, contribute their ideas without necessarily, being spoken over by perhaps their louder classmates. Everyone on this mind map could contribute all at the same time, and they can just keep adding and adding ideas. Alternatively, what you can also do is create what's called a public share map. So perhaps you want your students to contribute, but you want to more easily prevent an open access. If you go to the settings, down here we've got an option called public sharing. Just turn it on by clicking yes. So here you can allow people who have Ayoa to vote on branches, add branch comments, or even add branches of their own, and add the ticks to allow that. And then just copy this unique link and share it with everyone you want to contribute. So you could have an open debate in your class, have your mind map up on the screen and have multiple people add branches and discuss their views. And then the moment that you're happy that everyone's contributed, you can turn the public share off, and you'll still have all those branches and all those ideas, but you'll ensure that you'll be able to keep it intact and that there won't be any more alterations. Mind maps are always also a really effective way of testing your memory. It's a great way to really encourage students to, you know, test what they know. Like you could just outline the mind map with some key points and ask them to build upon those points. You know, and just add, you know, different topics and questions as your main branches, and your students can then start submitting and adding their own ideas. They could even upload images as well. So there are lots of different things you can do. Mind mapping is also a great way of teaching, and because you have that option to add, you know, whether it's web links or attachments, it means you can build, you know, entire resources. For example, you know, this presentation here, something I made earlier, and you could use this mind map to add, you know, information for further learning. For example, here we've got suggested novels, plays, and poems. You know, you could, you know, give a link to where you might be able to purchase different books. You could add attachments for, you know, notes for further reading. There's so much flexibility there for working with mind maps with others. So the next thing I'm going to look at is using task boards for lesson plans. So if anyone in the audience, you know, is a teacher, lecturer, like I'm sure that moving to remote teaching has been quite a difficult challenge for you. And Ayoa is absolutely fantastic for planning and keeping on top of your different tasks. So I'm just going to show you very quickly like how you might create a task board, and then we'll look at one that I've created earlier. So to create a task board, it's on the right side. So you've got the option of a canvas view, workflow view, or Gantt view. So I'm going to start off in workflow view. So the task board is created out of categories and tasks. Your categories are your way of organizing your tasks. Think of, you know, headings on spreadsheets. You know, it's a way of just understanding the order, and will help you manage your tasks more effectively. You know, so for this example, you know, we could start off by organizing categories into particular days of the week. So to do that, just drag from category. You can keep it really simple. Let's just add Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to start off with. And then from here, you know, you could, you know, break it up into, you know, morning and afternoon. Or alternatively, you know, you could organize it by subject. Say maths, English. You know, you could even have a category for, you know, further reading, just going to go back to a task board that I've created earlier. So this one is a task board where we've made those main categories the subjects instead. So just to show you, different examples of how you might organize your lesson plan. So this one we focused on it being per day, while this one we focused on how we organize those different subjects. So you can see we've added these key lessons in, and then because we've got the due dates on, I know when they're going to, when I'm planning to deliver them. So this is a task that I haven't added a due date to yet. So I'm going to click on that. You can see on the first info tab here, I've got my start date and due date. I can pick and choose exactly when I want to start and finish this. So rather than saying, I just need to get this done in an hour, you could instead aim to teach these points over a period of a number of days. It just gives your students a bit more time to really understand and work through the lessons at their own pace. And that's also a benefit of Ayoa, that if you set up a task board that you're able to share with your students, it means that they'll have access to those resources even after school ends. She'll just give them a lot more freedom to manage their own learning and their own workload, and to be able to test themselves as well. You can also assign tasks to different people. So for example, let's say we want to create a task board where people could submit their homework. For this example, I shall use Canvas. I'm just going to invite a few different people. So this could be different students. Now in this example, I don't necessarily want these students to be able to see each other's work or tasks, so I can change the permissions. So it's set to read only or assign tasks. So if I change it to assign tasks, what that means is they'll only ever be able to see tasks that are assigned to them, and that keeps all the work of everyone else completely private. And now I can set up the homework by categories, so I can organize different subjects . So now I'm going to create a task, which will allow me to set out some homework. Let's just say short story. So I've automatically assigned myself as the teacher, so that I can see any updates that are made to this task. But I can also assign my student. So now they'll have access to this task. They won't be able to see anything I assign anyone else, but they'll be able to see this task. In the notes, I can set them out a brief of what I want them to do, and maybe some key things that I want them to demonstrate through this short story. So write short story about autumn. And then perhaps to help them, if you go to this tab, this is the checklist tab. So let's say I want to see 3 different adjectives. I want to see 2 different metaphors. So check spelling. Perhaps I want the story from the first person point of view. and I can reorganize my checklist items, perhaps to show the, either, the importance of the order, or to perhaps, help them methodically work through that set of homework. And then what that student can do is, when they're completing that task for you, they can check off these items, and it will just help them get a better understanding of, if they're completing the piece of work to your standard, and help them get a better understanding of, making sure that they know what to do next. What they can then do is, once they've completed that story, they can attach it. So as I mentioned, if your students are using Google Drive, they could write that short story on Google Docs and attach it that way, or they can just attach, a Word document here. Once they've done that, they can even send you a message. Completed the work. You could use this comment section to have a discussion, with your students. You could give them feedback. Perhaps there's something you've missed or they've missed, and you can send that work back and forth and allow them to make changes and update and learn. And rather than having to remember all of your feedback, they'll have it on just one easy task. If you have students who really struggle to write notes down, perhaps they find it difficult to maybe keep up, perhaps they're like me and have terrible handwriting, they might find that mind maps really help them to absorb what you're saying in your lesson plans a lot easier. So what they could do is create a mind map. And then as the lesson goes on, perhaps instead of trying to write everything down at once, they can start picking up keywords. For example, wives, 6, divorced, headed, died, divorced, did. And right here is a really good example of taking the basic principles of mind mapping. So we've got one word per branch here. Yeah, that's all we have. And already, we've learned a lot about Henry VIII. And by teaching them to use mind maps for note-taking, you may find that your students can go back and they'll be able to read their notes, find them more useful, and it may help them to retain information that much easier. And because they've got it down in Ayoa, it means that no matter where they are, they should be able to access those notes, as we support Ayoa on iPhone, iPad, and Android, and you can log in on anywhere using the web app. We've got a few features coming up, hopefully in the next few weeks, which will really help support you for remote learning. One of those features is going to be a Zoom integration and Ayoa video chat. And that will allow you to speak to your students, one-on-one or even in a group, to help support your lessons, as you're mind mapping in real time, and to talk them through the task boards. Okay, so I've covered a few different features that you could use with your students and how to help you plan lessons. I just wanted to check if anyone has any questions. Perhaps there was a feature that you thought would be quite useful for teaching or with your students that I haven't gone through. If you just let me know through the Q&A, I'd be happy to go through that. Or if there's anything you want me to go over again, just let me know. So while I'm giving you a chance to submit those questions, I'm just going to go through the other different ways that you can learn more about Ayoa. So we have support guides available at support.ayoa.com, and that covers all the different platforms, including Android, iOS, web app, Mac and Windows. On YouTube, we have a range of different video tutorials, including recordings of previous webinars. And if you have any further questions, you can contact us at support@ayoa.com. We do weekly webinars. Next week, we'll be getting started with Ayoa, where we will be looking at different key features of Ayoa, such as mind mapping, task boards, and sending tasks from mind map. So if you're completely new to Ayoa and you just want a bit more support and to learn how to get started, that is a perfect webinar for you. This year we've introduced a load of new languages. So we've introduced Korean, Japanese, and French, and we'll be looking to add even more languages in the future. And as I mentioned, one of the big new features we've got coming up, hopefully in the next few weeks, will be our video chat. So there'll be the option to integrate into Zoom, so you can launch Zoom meetings straight from Ayoa. And we'll also have a built-in video chat as well. So I just wanted to check if anyone had any questions before I finish this webinar. Okay, it doesn't look like anyone has any questions, but as I mentioned, if anything occurs to you after this session, please just pop us over an email at support@ayoa.com, and I'd be delighted to help. I hope you found this useful. Please enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.